Hi guys, this is Mr. Tan, and we're continuing with business strategy, and we're doing P2. P2 says analyze, keyword, which means to state how one variable affects another. Analyze the internal environment and capabilities of an organization using appropriate frameworks. So analyze the internal environment of an organization, stating its capabilities using different frameworks. So we know that the internal environment is two parts really. Firstly, it's the task environment as part of the internal environment. The task includes customers, suppliers, buyers, you've got regulators and strategic partners. Okay, so these are the tasks which is internal to the company. You've also got the company itself, the strengths and weaknesses, part of the SWOT analysis, internal to the company, part of the internal side. So when we're looking at the internal, be very specific. It's nothing to do with the macro side, looking out in, okay, like P1. So appropriate frameworks. Well, I'm going to use the value chain, and I'm also going to use McKinsey's 7S model framework.
All right.
So here, because the question said frameworks, plural.
Yeah.
It's okay. So the value chain. What is the value chain? The value chain includes what? Primary activities and supporting activities. The primary activities are the inbound logistics, the operations, the outbound logistics, the marketing, and then the customer service. And then to the right-hand side, you've got profit and margin, but the supporting activities includes infrastructure, technology, what else? Human resource and recruitment. So recruitment, HR, technology, and infrastructure. So let's relate this to Tesco's and say, how good or bad it is, because how a company forms its operations dictates, and how they use their resources dictates whether they're going to be successful or not. Because so many people just organise and just do things without realising that they're wasting money, because this is taking too long, this is taking too long, this is not efficient, that's not efficient. And even though you're making money, even though you're making profit, in fact you could be making a hell of a lot more profit if you're efficient in terms of your processes and practices. So, inbound logistics. When we look about inbound logistics, where do the food in Tesco's come into?
65% from UK.
Yeah, so they come from the UK, good.
65.
About 65%, and the rest from the rest of the world, from outside the UK. But where does it go into?
In the UK.
To the warehouse.
Distribution centres. Distribution centres. And these distribution centres, and there are various I think there's about 33, and they've closed down two distribution centres. So there's about 33, and they've closed some down, distribution centres in the UK. So the food first doesn't go straight to the store. It goes into the distribution centres.
Yeah.
And then obviously the distribution centres with their technology to organise, to monitor, to stock control, to know what stock you've got in which distribution centre, then with the technology allows these to be distributed out to the 4 different types of stores. The superstores, the Metro Express, the extra stores, the express stores, and also allocating more for extra demand for the online stores. But it's the individual stores, the high street stores and the superstores, who will be delivering to customers in their local areas. The distribution centres don't actually distribute direct to the consumers. It happens from the individual stores. Are we okay? If you go any lower, you might fall down. Okay, so that's the inbound. But then the next part of the primary activity is the operations. How do they operate? So then it comes inside, and then they're distributed out to the different stores. And then how do Tesco's operate? How are they efficient? Well, they have lean practices, lean to stop waste, knowing what's been in stock where. They have FRID, RFID technology to help them monitor what is where and what is being used and how much they've got stock of. They use cross-stocking systems not to hold other suppliers' goods, so that then they get the order and then ask that customer to send out the order direct, and then just take in the sell. Cross-stocking. They use other practices and use technology as a secondary factor to support the operations in terms of Tesco's self-service, in terms of Tesco's warehousing, in terms of Tesco's online stores. All this technology is used to help support those activities in store. Otherwise, how would you know what you're supposed to do where? Yeah. So we can see that these operations are supported by the infrastructure of the company and technology as well as HR and the outbound logistics in terms of the food going out to those customers. We can also see HR and staff development, staff appraisal is important because you need the right people in the company to do the right things. As you quite rightly said, when Tesco's bought Booker's had Londis and Budgeons on board, but when they bought it, they had to integrate Booker's into the Tesco's company, which would have been a hell of a feat. It's all good and well saying, oh, buy it, just integrate it, but you've got to integrate the whole thing into the Tesco's information systems, and that would have taken some great feat to do it successfully. It wouldn't have been an easy thing at all. Okay? So what you do is you explain the value chain and the different components of the value chain, and then using Tesco's or a company of your own choice, you then apply it. You apply what's happening and what they're doing and what they're using. Okay? Everyone happy with the value chain?
Yeah.
Has it added value?
Yeah.
Yes, it has. They actually work together to make it an efficient company. Okay. So the other model we're going to use, obviously, is the. And I've given you this framework, McKinsey's 7S framework. Yeah. McKinsey's 7S framework by Tom Peters, developed in the 1980s by Tom Peters and Robert Waterman. And the model was to look at the aspects of the organisation that was important to make it successful. Yeah? So what are those aspects? The aspects include the structure, the systems, the style, the staff, the skills, the strategy, and at the centre of it, the shared vision, the mission, what the company is all about, the culture of the company, how they want to operate. Okay? So how do they see their employees? As a X or Y employee?
Why?
Why? So what is a Y employee?
They're efficient, they
got the skill.
They got the skill, you trust them, if you give them the work, you know they're actually going to get on with it, and not the X where they believe that everyone is lazy and they need to be monitored and micromanaged. Okay? So, shared vision. But when you're applying this, obviously explain the different components, but you can't explain it in relation to itself. You need to explain it in relation to a company. So, yes, so if you're talking about Tesco's, you say, what is the shared vision of Tesco's?
Yeah.
You know, Jack Cohen was the founder in 1919 or 1918, after the First World War.
1924.
No, he started it after the First World War.
I found it in 1918.
1918, yes.
No, 1990.
It might have been 1919.
Yes, it's 1919. Jack Cohen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, one of those, yeah. It might be 1918, 1919, okay?
Yeah.
But when he came out of the war. He came out of the war, he bought the stock, he then went into the markets place and he sold it, doubled his money, kept buying more stock, kept doubling his money. Because people had shortages, people had, curfews in terms of how much they could buy, so now everyone wanted goods. There were no more restrictions. And he saw a need for it, and he jumped on it straight away.
Yeah. He took the opportunity.
Took the opportunity.
Yeah.
So, shared value. Shared value was to, what is the value now in terms of the Tesco's goods? Offering Value for money. No? Value for money.
Okay, yeah.
Value for money. Okay? You're getting a cost. They're not saying cheap. They're saying value for money. Okay. Okay. So, and then you talk about the structure. What is the organisational structure? You talk about the tall hierarchical structure of Tesco's, and then you talk about the different types of stores, because the stores have a structure within themselves of a manager, assistant manager, section managers. For each section manager, you will have supervisors and so on and so forth, and then employees. Yeah. So you've got different layers.
Yeah.
So more like a hierarchical structure.
585 stores.
585. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you talk about the systems. What systems do they have in place? You know,
86.
RFID systems, lean systems. They've got continuous improvement systems to try and improve how they do things to make themselves more efficient and more effective. Yeah. What about their style? What's a Tesco style?
Delegative. Delegative.
So they delegate, leadership style, okay,
Supportive
and they support, yeah, delegating and supporting, definitely delegating and supporting. Let people get on with the work as well. They trust them. They actually train their staff on a regular basis as well. They train their staff in store, training and training and training. Okay. What about their staff? What are the staff?